Hello, APUSH Nation. This is Mr. O'Hagan, and welcome to this edition of Content Spotlight, where we highlight a specific historical topic within one of our units, explain its importance, and identify its broader historical connections and implications. Today on the Spotlight, the Plantation South and the Positive Good Movement. The first African slaves were brought to Virginia in 1619, and the use of slaves expanded throughout the colonies from that point on. By the end of the American Revolution in 1783, the system of widespread slavery seemed poised to die out in all but a handful of states. Eli Whitney's cotton gin changed that. His 1793 machine made the time-consuming, labor-intensive part of cotton production, removing the seeds from the plant, a much more simple task. Cotton production and the need for slaves skyrocketed, but even Southerners acknowledged their peculiar institution and its obvious contrast with a nation founded on liberty and inalienable rights. Fast forward to the 1820s and 1830s. As new territory was acquired, like the Louisiana Purchase, and conflict arose over the expansion of slavery, see the Missouri Compromise, the entire tenor of the debate over slavery began to change. The abolition movement grew out of the Second Great Awakening and a deeply held religious conviction that all people were equally loved by God and should be treated that way by their fellow man. Slavery could not stand under such a worldview, and activists brought their considerable talents to bear to challenge this evil system. William Lloyd Garrison, publisher of The Liberator, became one of the most hated men in the South. Former slave Frederick Douglass, a powerful speaker and writer, became the de facto symbol of the talent and humanity that slavery had robbed of its victims. And the Grimke sisters, Sarah and Angelina, who hailed from a wealthy South Carolina slaveholding family, spoke with an intimate knowledge of the evils of slavery and demanded that their Southern brothers and sisters repent for their terrible sins. These activists, coupled with the 1831 Nat Turner Rebellion, turned a defensive slave-owning class into a full-fledged, full-throated advocate for slavery. No one embodied this newfound affirmation for the righteousness of slavery than Senator John C. Calhoun of South Carolina. No longer willing to apologize for his peculiar institution as a necessary evil, Calhoun went on the offensive, famously saying, "I hold that in the present state of civilization, where two races of different origin and distinguished by color and other physical differences, as well as intellectual, are brought together, the relation now existing in the slaveholding states between the two is, instead of an evil, a good, a positive good." In 1854, George Fitzhugh, an author and social theorist, took Calhoun's ideology to its extreme position, suggesting that slavery was a natural state for those who were inferior, and suggested that some white men, mostly Yankees, would probably themselves be better served by having a master. We can see how this worldview would, by 1861, be incompatible with Abraham Lincoln's opposition to slavery and its expansion. Let's look at our historical themes for this topic. Clearly, it falls under a number of College Board's historical themes, but let's focus on two. Theme 7, American and Regional Culture, and Theme 8, Social Structures. We can see how these beliefs among Southern leaders shaped the antebellum culture of the South and how it worked to reinforce the rigid social structure that slavery perpetuated on African Americans and, in many ways, poor Southern whites as well. As a way to connect across time periods, or reasoning, as College Board likes to call it, let's think about the post-Civil War era and the efforts during Reconstruction to change these attitudes and beliefs, or how these same beliefs seem to be espoused in the 1960s during the Civil Rights Movement by Southern leaders, desperate to hold on to their 20th century version of a slaveocracy, namely segregation. Thanks for joining us for this Content Spotlight. Don't forget to use this YouTube channel for unit reviews, content spotlights, like this one, writing workshops, and of course, APUSH on the road segments. We'll see you again soon on the APUSH Underground.